50% plus one of the people on that section of road to request that we remove the special status, and then we would have to have a public hearing to discuss the removal of that special status. Right? To close a road or the section of road, we would also have to have a public hearing to do that. We can do them in one meeting. We just have to do one then the other.
Okay.
Right? That's how I understand the regulations. Are we at odds or are we in agreement on that? I think that makes sense. Okay.
2 public hearings go into one.
Right. We have one public hearing, but we
plan.
would de-scenic road it. We would make the decision on whether or not it's going to maintain a scenic road. And then we would, if it stays a scenic road, I'm not sure we can close it. That's something we would have to probably run by Carl.
Might be good to know that in advance.
Might be good to know that in advance. And then following, I mean, if we can close a scenic road.
Well, I ran this request by Carl, and he said go through the process. He didn't see any issues with it, meaning plan a public hearing, notice all of the property owners, and then give them the opportunity to come in and speak at the public hearing. And then if you decide in favor of doing this, it then has to go to zoning for that.
In town meeting.
But he didn't say anything about a process that, and by the way, I'm Tim Keeney for the record.
Todd Rowland, Director of Public Works, for the record.
He didn't say anything about a process where we had to go through this to decertify the scenic road.
My only concern, and I don't know if he was asked that question.
This was in 1989 that was created, by the way, and I'm interested to find out why they thought it needed to be a scenic road.
It's very pretty up there.
Smoking a lot of dope back there.
No, it's a very pretty
road.
Well,
no, the road was approved in 1989 under a blanket improvement with half of the roads in town. The scenic road designation happened in 1999.
Okay, 1999.
Yeah.
Look,
go ahead.
My only concern is these two pieces of statute of regulation were written separately. My fear is if we approve
the closure,
Right.
and ignore the scenic road status, does
Right.
that?
That's a good.
Did
point.
we ask Carl if that gives if somebody there for some reason
Given
doesn't want us to do
grounds
that? Does that give someone a reason to come in and
objection.
take us to court and say, "Listen,
Yeah.
you didn't
Right.
Follow
step
the
on
right
all the rocks as you were
procedures." Yeah.
crossing the brook."
Yeah, right.
I want to make sure that we're step on all the rocks when we cross brooks here.
If we're going to do that, which I think I agree with you, I think that's probably the way to go. I would just suggest we remove the scenic designation from Main Street to number 70, so that entire lower county is not a scenic road, if you would. And it would only affect the abutters that have requested this anyways on the lower county
Okay.
portion.
Main
of the
Street 270
Yeah. From Main Street, I don't know what is.
To
So
70
from
what?
the
70.
intersection of 190 up to
70
the
Number 70, the driveway of number 70 County Road.
few feet before the driveway to 70 on.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we know how many people live in that section
I
of the
think it's
road?
3 parcels, honestly. Well, the 2 on the corner of Main and County Road, and then 17 County Road is 3 dwellings. I believe the other parcel was owned by the town, but I'd have to check.
One's
So
town and
the
then
town would get the vote?
Yeah, no.
the town can request the removal of the status, but only has the property owner of that piece. I mean, you
Right.
don't get extra points.
Right, right.
So you're doing this at the request of the people on the road. So do you feel that you could document their request to remove the status of 50% plus one of the?
Yeah, I could draft a letter that
Okay.
goes out to the folks and says this is what we're considering requesting. We'll word it in some way that we would like to remove the scenic road designation from Route 192, property number 70, and close that middle section that we have on the map there to through traffic.
Okay.
It's an area it's a section of the road we don't maintain in the winter. We don't plow it.
You don't do much for it in the summer either.
No, we don't. We
I haven't been up
keep
there.
it passable because the power lines go up the
Right.
road and feed Upper Olive County Road. So we keep it accessible for Eversource ostensibly. The rest of it it's very narrow and dangerous. It's a cliff on one side.
Would we,
and a hill
if we
on the
abandon
other.
this road, as
No,
I
I
understand,
wouldn't abandon it. I would just remove the scenic road designation. Because then you get into, if it's not a town road, I guess it would still be town property. So
no,
Eversource.
if you close a town road, the property splits to the abutters. If you give up a road,
We're not giving up the road, though.
we're not
We're
giving up
just
the road.
abandoning the scenic road designation of that portion of county road. It still will be
It's
county
going,
road.
it's going to be county road, it's just going to be closed.
Right,
It's not going to be
With a
gone.
gate, with
It's
a
just
gate.
going to be closed with a
right,
gate.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not abandoning
We're
the
not
road.
formally abandoning the road.
It'll
I
still be county
misunderstood.
road.
I thought
Just-
we were formally.
No, we just want to be able to close it off to through traffic,
Okay.
is really what we're trying to accomplish.
All right.
But
So,
I can,
so I was overcomplicating this in my head. Okay.
Easy to do. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different variables here.
yeah, if we, I think to what
So
we're trying
we
to
do-
get at, if we remove the scenic road designation from Main Street to number 7,
Maybe we don't need to remove the scenic road designation.
well, that gets into the, if we just close this portion of the road, to your point before,
That's what-
how does that play into scenic road designation? I mean, if somebody in the future wants to close off another section of a scenic road, but I don't know.
How many scenic roads do we have in this town?
This is the only one.
Well, it's still a town
It's a
road. I mean, the town,
You gotta
I
get
mean,
it.
town, we haven't done it, but I mean, Ludlow is barricaded, in Springfield and a bunch of towns in Massachusetts took a bunch of roads and just sort of
Just
decided
closed
that
it
they're gonna
at the end.
end here with, and, I mean, but that's a town.
Yeah.
The town basically, for a reason, it can close roads for short periods of time for safety reasons,
Mhm.
or just sort of, it's gonna be an access road for something that the town has back there, and it's gonna close it off.
Yeah, so we could go back to the original, my original request is just to close off that section. It will still remain county road and a scenic road
I mean, if it's still
designation.
county road and it's still a scenic road, but it's just, the town is closing a portion of it because it's
We're closing it to through traffic.
closing it to,
We'll have emergency access.
Through traffic for
closing
safety,
it
for
to
safety
other than
reasons.
emergency and service vehicles.
Right,
Then it's still a road,
yes.
right? So it's not, if it's not becoming a road, it can still be scenic, and if you would allow foot traffic,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
so you could still enjoy the
Bikes.
scenic part of the road.
Yeah, it's still
I
scenic.
mean, we'll put up a
right?
gate, but you can we're not gonna
Right.
make it so it's impassable
Right, yeah.
to get through. You can.
It's the
just
scenic
be able to
route that you
ride.
do with walking,
Yeah,
trail,
put up like an
walking,
8-foot gate on
riding,
either end
walking
or
your
something.
dog,
Yeah,
all that
oh,
good
absolutely, yeah,
just no motor vehicles.
yeah, right.
Right, I mean, I'm not sure it would be a
Right.
popular thing to do, but it's
So
still.
what's our, what do we do? Motion for report, like, how do we motion this?
So-
What is the motion here?
I'm reading this, so I just want to be clear
Right, the
that
scenic road
that we follow it
designation.
right. So any prior to any alteration or changes, you have to have a public hearing.
Mhm.
Right.
But do you still need the, you don't need approval in writing from a majority because it doesn't say that, it just says rescission. If you were rescinding the
Right.
scenic road, you would
Right.
need approval from them.
Yeah, I
Right,
don't
it's
think you
staying
do.
a scenic
I
road.
think it's just
The planning
have a
commission,
public hearing,
the planning commission just has a public hearing to
Right.
approve your request to close a portion of.
Right.
this
It's
road.
through traffic.
And we'd be
Not
doing
changing
that
the-
under 57.3A, so it's some improvements or
Right.
alterations, and the alteration is to block it from vehicular traffic.
Right.
That's not service related.
57, 3, and 4, yeah.
57, 3, and 4.
And they would all be notified anyways,
Is there a
because.
problem if I use this?
No, yeah, so you can pull that, yeah.
So how soon do you believe you can be prepared to do a public hearing?
What do you-
Well-
2 weeks?
If we don't need the written approval from
50% of the.
50%,
If we're- well,
you just
We're
need the
just
2
doing a
weeks.
public hearing.
Right, if we're just doing the public hearing to make the alteration of putting gates on the road,
So,
and if Carl says we're wrong,
we could do it,
we
Well, I
can always
sent him all
change.
this, and
All
he
right.
said he didn't see any problem
Okay,
with
well,
it.
if he doesn't see any
already
problem,
reviewed it.
and he's pretty good at this stuff,
Yeah, he is.
so we have to run the legal notice twice.
right?
So I would do that at the beginning of next week.
Okay.
Run it, in Saturday the 22nd, Saturday the 29th. So, I mean, we could do it as early. I'm requesting that maybe you guys are able to meet for that, the first week of November.
Calendar's up.
So that's
31st, first, well, yeah.
The third,
first,
right?
Second,
That
third.
would be the
If you
third.
want to
Be
do
the
Thursday
third.
night,
The
yeah.
third is also Board of
What are we, the
Selectmen
second? Are we the second Thursday of every month?
You are the second, but I have to have zoning commission, have a public hearing on the 7th about an issue that they have to refer to you. So if you schedule a special meeting for a public hearing, I'm gonna add a second agenda item, a zoning referral.
I'm sorry, but they're meeting at on the 7th, that's before the 7th.
We're meeting Monday the 17th.
Oh, I'm
To
sorry.
schedule a public hearing for the opt-out of those couple of zoning regulations the state is saying we will have to do if we don't opt out.
Okay.
So November 3rd?
But there's a Board of Selectmen meeting.
Mm.
How does that conflict?
Could we,
Oh, I've got 4 things for the Board of Selectmen.
Uh-oh.
It's just
could we do
my
it the 2nd?
timing.
You want to be at, okay, the public hearing.
2nd of November.
How's
Wednesday.
November 2 for you guys?
It's a
Wednesday the
Wednesday.
2nd?
Yes.
There might be enough mental level. It might be 50-50. I coach soccer.
Every night?
Nope, just Wednesday.
That's Wednesday. All
Oh,
Just Wednesday, Friday.
right.
Oh,
How's the 1st? I don't have an
Tuesday.
IAPO meeting anymore, so I'm probably.
How late does that go?
7 o'clock.
Tuesday the,
But, I mean, it's getting to the time.
You want to do a 7, you want to do a
Doesn't go
7:30 on
on
the
that
2nd?
That's
well, it's up to
changing.
you guys. Are you saying, yeah, it's getting dark for soccer, like,
But yeah,
whichever.
it might change. I might be able to leave early. So
You
if
start
you want,
at
if
7.
I mean, if Tuesday is safer, I
you
mean,
do
I think.
7, I'm probably done. It usually goes to 7, but I know that's
Oh, on Thursday?
on Wednesdays. I'm saying
On
I
Wednesday.
practice, so I could probably be here around this time. So if we did 7 o'clock,
You probably get more public there as well if you did 7 versus 6:30.
Mm.
People
Okay.
come home and eat dinner.
So is
does
7
that work
o'clock?
for you, Pat?
Yeah.
All in,
Yeah. I didn't hear
7
from
o'clock?
Bill, and Adam's out of town right now,
Right.
so, yeah,
but at least us three can still.
Well,
Sure.
at least we have a quorum.
right.
That's on which day?
The
Oh, wow.
2nd,
The 2nd?
November 2nd.
Okay.
November 2nd, 7 p.m.
There it is.
So that would be your motion to,
Okay, so can I have a motion to schedule a public hearing on the request to close County
A
Road?
section of County
A
Road.
section of County Road from the intersection of 190 to the, prior to the driveway of lot number 70?
from number
That's not the-
17
those aren't the right-
to 7.
No, we moved that.
Closure, given the.
Oh, the closure is,
Closure is only from 17 to 70. He
17
was
to
saying
70.
scenic road,
Yeah,
but you aren't
yeah.
doing that.
we're not
Okay.
doing that, just
Okay, just
17 to
from-
70.
Okay, we're backing off from 17 to 70. Can I have a motion to
Motion.
schedule a public hearing, a second? Okay, any further discussion? I'm beating this to death, hearing none, aye?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion carries. And did you want to have any discussion, amend the agenda so you could discuss the,
If you would like to, I could briefly explain
that
it.
would be great. Can we have a motion to amend the agenda to include an opt-out provision for some state regulations that zoning will be sending to us?
Motion.
Second, okay. Thank you. We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, so, sorry I didn't bring a copy with me, to give to you, but I could read the memo I sent the Board of Selectmen, which is a summary, if you guys want me to read it real quick. Basically, there's a public act pertaining to zoning issues, and several of them we already do or we have to do, but there's 3 specific items that we can, as a municipality, as the zoning commission, opt out of, meaning we retain the regulating authority within Summers rather than following what the state says. So it's easier for me to read the summary. So Connecticut Public Act 2129 is an act concerning the Zoning Enabling Act, accessory dwelling units, parking requirements, and temporary health structures. Municipalities have till December 31st, 2022 to either comply with the requirements or take action to opt out of these requirements. The zoning commission is planning to hold a special meeting to initiate the opt-out process, refer to the planning commission, and schedule a public hearing. Upon holding the public hearing, the zoning commission can vote to opt out and refer to the board of selectmen for a final vote. So basically, whatever they decide, opt out or comply, the board of selectmen will either vote to.
After they review the recommendations
What
of
are
planning
we
and
opting
zoning.
out
So
of?
here's what we're up. Here's the summary.
Okay.
And I had just said to them, I've spoken with the chair of zoning as well as Carl Landolina.
What this is, by the way, is just it's local control.
Right.
So these are things the state says you have to do unless a local community opts out of, and allows you to do what you want to do. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, so it keeps
So
the
the town has
authority.
the final say.
It
right?
Yeah,
keeps the authority
that's
to-
what you want to preserve, and that's why you want to opt out.
Keeps
That's
us-
the whole idea.
the authority to regulate locally rather than from the state. So the temporary health structure, they're basically like tiny house type structures. It says that they should be allowed on a residential property to allow for the long-term care of mentally or physically impaired persons unless a municipality opts out. So someone could put a little tiny house and have, they're disabled or someone relative, if they take care of them, if they need more care. Parking, that we shall require no more than one parking space for each studio or one bedroom dwelling unit, or no more than 2 parking spaces for each dwelling unit with 2 or more bedrooms, unless we opt out. Right now, our zoning regs require 2 spaces for one unit. So we'd have to lessen our requirement. And then lastly, accessory dwelling units. Allow accessory apartments to be attached to or located within the proposed or existing principal dwelling, or detached from the proposed or existing dwelling and located on the same lot as such dwelling, among other heightened size requirements. Our current regulations, now we allow for accessory apartments. We didn't have that until we rewrote. But we did put in there that it has to be part of the structure, share a common wall. Otherwise, if we don't opt out, someone can build a garage detached and put an apartment there and have, on anything. So we'd have to lessen this regulation as well.
Right.
That,
Okay, no, that's,
So it's pretty simple things that
and if the town down the road thought that any of these were a good idea for the
We could do
community or
it.
met our needs, it doesn't
do it.
prohibit us from doing
right.
it.
But this is our only
Right.
shot to opt out of it.
Okay.
Just increases your flexibility.
Yeah.
Control.
Basically.
Local control.
Okay,
So Monday we have a special meeting,
all right,
which requires us to schedule a public hearing and refer to planning.
right. And you'd like to get that process done as quickly as possible
Well,
in case there's any snags in it.
In case there's a snag and we have to continue the public hearing, or just also to allow the Board of Selectmen to then get it on their agenda for a vote.
Okay,
Can you have the same public hearing the second? Or would you tag it on as another agenda item?
I tag it
Where
right on.
the only
If you
public,
have it-
Yeah.
well, no, the public hearing is zoning commission,
Oh.
because we don't have combined. I still think we should combine them, but
Yeah.
if we
So,
combine them, then your referral to zoning and vice versa,
right.
would be.
Then we start
Same
playing
committee.
ping pong.
Yeah, so this is the zoning commission.
Ah,
Though frankly, I think we should either combine or clearly delineate
right.
authority. It's one or the other. The idea that people have to go to 2 commissions for one thing.
Well,
is-
yeah, our zoning regs require
Right.
everything get referred to you.
Well, we should change that. If we can't combine this, we should at least be independent commissions.
Or just combine
I
like
just-
every
I
other,
mean, most
every other town.
municipalities-
I understand that, but for
Yeah.
some reason or other, that meets a lot of resistance, even though
Yeah.
we have a hard time maintaining full commissions.
Just
There's
make it
There's
a
a couple of
seven member.
individuals in town, like Carl Walton, that insist you gotta have 2 different organizations.
Well, Carl and I agree on a lot of stuff, not everything.
Good for you.
So
All right,
that's
So what do
that's
you need
another.
from us? Anything?
I'm just letting you know it's coming down the road, and
Oh.
that's why I was saying.
she was
that.
talking to me about it and giving me these
Perfect.
things about opting out of state regulations. It sounded really complicated, so I wanted to say it to everybody on the
It's meant
record.
to
So
explain,
when I was completely
Thanks,
confused,
Brad.
you
I
guys would know
appreciate
what
it.
she was talking about.
Dragging us in with you.
All right.
but that's also what I needed from you guys was to hurry up and schedule an earlier meeting than your regular one.
Yep.
So you can meet on that option
Subject.
before zoning meets.
I think you
Bill and
may
Adam
be
will be
here
there
because
too,
you had
so
some
we'll have a
interest
full
in the
team.
discussion we were having.
County Road?
Let me explain why that's not on the agenda. If we have audience participation on something on our agenda, if you were to share your thoughts on it one way or the other, people could turn around and say, you had an illegal public hearing that wasn't announced. Okay, so you can't talk about anything that's on our agenda.
Okay.
You can tell us we're annoying and silly on a broader basis, but just not on that one thing. Okay? But when we have the public hearing, you are welcome to come and share whatever thoughts you have with us on that, and we will give it proper consideration and respect.
Okay, great.
Okay, I just didn't want to leave you sitting there and
That's
have
okay.
us not address you being here, because
Okay.
And do you live on County Road?
I live at 17 Town.
So you'll get a notification of the meeting, but we said November 2nd.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you would get a notification.
okay. All right. Having approval of minutes.
I don't think you were here. Were you here last?
Have a good night,
So
thank
you
So
can-
we
you.
got a motion. I can motion, you can
You
second?
can motion, I can second.
Motion for
Oh,
approval.
it's raining now.
I
Last
second.
agenda's meeting.
It's Dave.
All right.
You know, Dave.
And then we have a yes, an abstention, and I'll vote yes too. So unless you have any comments or concerns?
No.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes has been made. All in favor?
Aye.
We all love it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
What time?
Second.
Motion to adjourn at